And let's go now to Peter, who's on the line from Michigan. Hello, Peter. You've called the Diane Rehm Show.
Yes. The hacking of the U.S. election by a hostile foreign power is a monstrous catastrophe that I see the media, and including this conversation, just furiously trying to normalize and move off of, perhaps because they recognize that they were enthusiastic collaborators and vectors in this process. And it's even more disturbing that this MO of hacking, distorting, and weaponizing emails is exactly the same as that deployed against climate scientists in 2009 following a hack at the University of East Anglia in the UK. We don't know who did that hack, but I know because I'm a videographer and I talk to climate scientists and have for 10 years, that Russia was a leading suspect in that hack because of their huge interest in fossil fuels. Okay. And I just find these twin developments of the hacking of the U.S. election and the complete chaos that our climate policy is now in is absolutely catastrophic developments and almost completely ignored in the press. I'd like to hear an explanation.
Okay. Thanks very much, Peter. And you're right. There are two developments there. Some would separate them. You have linked them. Missy, do you have, first of all, climate change? I mean, this is a huge issue. Let's deal with that sure. question first. Donald Trump has raised a lot of questions about the accuracy of predictions on climate change and certainly suggested he's going to retreat from some of the commitments that the United States made in the past.
Sure. A lot of people have been asking whether Donald Trump will be in the country's first anti-science president. We don't know yet, but he certainly has questioned climate change, and it's a real possibility that he will either pull out of the Paris Agreement or make it moot by not respecting it or doing things that would lead other countries not to do their part. The United States is supposed to cut greenhouse gas emissions by 2025 significantly, but he's talking about increasing the fossil fuel industry. And
David, Peter made the point that he thinks that Russia is sort of a saboteur of the climate change agenda, and even sort of with its hacking may have done something.
Yeah, could have been. The bigger question that I think he raised at the beginning is what was Russia's role in the hacking of, in this election? Yeah. Because they're two somewhat separate things. If you're hacking for the purpose of propaganda for a political purpose, we've seen that before. That's not saying that we approve of it, but we've seen the Russians and others do that in a propaganda campaign. Certainly you've seen it in Ukraine, you've seen it in Estonia and elsewhere. What we haven't seen before until this election cycle was a foreign power coming in, breaking into a political party, and then using that data to try to move an actual election or just sow chaos in that election. And there wasn't any sign of hacking that we found yet in the actual election day, but we've got to think hard before the next election cycle about what the implications were of the fact that we, for the first time in our history, really saw a foreign power get involved in this system.
First time in our history, we've seen a lot of things this week, and as we have been discussing today, lots of questions about this pivotal development in U.S. domestic politics that will have ramifications around the world. I want to thank my guests for this hour, David Singer, whom you just heard from, national security correspondent at the New York Times, Missy Ryan, Pentagon reporter at the Washington Post, and Moises Naim, a distinguished fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace and a columnist for the newspaper El País. I want to also thank all the people who called. We